the live stream, the only source of information you need to not only survive the current apocalypse, but actually enjoy it. And this live stream is going to be hopefully going to be the first in a series of them, unless I get healthy. If I get to feeling better, I'll put together part 10 of Melchizedek complete with all the references and everything, and post that, and not do this. But that always, that's what you call wishful thinking. So there's no point in even discussing that. If it happens, it happens. But I just did a live stream about 10 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, I guess, and I was trying to keep up with. Hello, Sandra. See, ooh, that's what I'm talking about. Trying to keep up with all these little notes that come on here, and I get sidetracked. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do my regular, like, rant, like a 15-minute rant or something, and then when I'm struggling to think of something else to say, I'll start reading all the comments. But here's the important thing: if you have something you really want addressed, you're not just saying hi or anything like that, but you want some important stuff. Wait a couple of hours. This video will become a regular video. It won't be a live stream. It'll just be a regular video. And you can go down in the comment section and you can leave questions, and it'll end up in my email. Now, everything you put up now while this is going on, that won't end up in my email. And I'll never see it because I'm not going to go back and watch this. But I'm kind of shaky because I don't have a tripod. I'm holding this in my hands. Oh, I'm in my bed again. Is in my pajamas, trying to keep warm because it's cold outside, and it still ain't exactly warm inside. So, what did I call this? It said, didn't it say it's Children of God? Okay, we're going to talk about the Children of God. Part 10 of the Melchizedek series is going to be about angels. And I'm pretty sure I've figured out who the angels are. But it involves humans. And here's the reason. The Bible in the Genesis account tells us that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And if you're a long-time subscriber, you know that that's not accurate. What the Bible actually says in Hebrew is, in the beginning, the gods, plural, created the heavens and the earth. And I've addressed this before. Later on in the New Testament, it says, even though there are many gods, so it says that, it admits there are many gods, and there are many called gods, to us there is only one true God, the Creator. Well, if you look at the beginning, it says in the beginning, the gods, plural, created the heavens and the earth. And there is a precedent for why it would be gods, plural. If you go to the account of Abraham defeating the kings in the promised land, he goes and he makes sacrifices to a man, or tithes to a man named Melchizedek, which means the rightful king. And that rightful king is Canaan, as we've already discussed, and his children are the ones that are at war. So later on in the Bible, when God is explaining to us why there was a priesthood and how that priesthood really didn't mean anything, he says the entire priesthood of Israel paid tithes to Melchizedek. So these are the priest of Israel paid tithes to Melchizedek, who was not just a rightful king, but the rightful priest. So this rightful priest, who was not from Israel, he was not a descendant of Abraham, he was not a Levite, he actually was paid tithes by the Levites. And says, how could he do that? They weren't born yet. Levi hadn't been born yet. So how did the Levites pay tithes to Melchizedek? They paid tithes because they were in the loins of Abraham at the time. So when Abraham paid tithes, all of his children were still in him, all of his grandchildren, great-grandchildren, all the way down to us today. And so when it says in the beginning, the gods created the heavens and the earth, and we ask, how were these gods involved in the creation of the heavens and the earth if there's only one God? Because at the time, all of us, each and every one of us, was still in God, just as the Levites were still in Abraham. So does that make sense? I hope so, because our understanding of the Bible is going to depend on our ability to understand that concept. Now, everybody pretty much knows that in the very earliest books of the Bible, people lived to be like 800, 900, 700 years old. And so the explanation we get from the churches is that the reason people live so long is because before the flood, the environment of the earth was more beneficial to human life. And so humans could live longer because of that. And I guess that's possible. If you look at the stories about the Garden of Eden, these people didn't have to work. The fruit from the trees of life would sustain them forever. And the trees of life, the Bible doesn't even tell us how many varieties there were. So it'd be all different kinds of fruits just hanging at arm's reach for humans to consume anytime. 12 months a year, it says. And so you've got these people at the very earliest days that lived a long time. And what's worse is that they were supposed to live longer. Adam and Eve were told, you'll live forever as long as you follow the rules. The rules were get plenty of sleep, eat human food, don't eat animal food, make love, populate the entire earth with offspring, which would mean making love. So they're living in a really good place. But that may not be all that's involved, because if you look, each and every one of the people who's mentioned that lives for 900 years. I mean, even Noah lived 900 and some odd years, and he lived after the flood. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Shem lived for hundreds of years, lived after the flood. But if you look at the stories in the Bible, all the way up until Abraham, there was a group of people that eventually became all the kings of the earth. The offspring of Adam and Eve became the kings of the earth. And if you look around the world, all of these guys, these kings back in the past, they married their sisters, and they would have dozens of wives, but it was always the wife of the child of their sister that became the next king. Sarah and Abraham, they were brother and sister, and their children are the ones that became the kings. If you go back to Adam and Eve were brother and sister. And so their children ended up becoming these people who lived for hundreds of years. So you've got these two factors that are involved, is that all of the people who lived for exceptionally long amounts of time were the offspring of brothers and sisters, seemingly. Now, that isn't confirmed in every case, but there's something to keep in mind here. The few instances where it is, there's always like some big deal about who the father is and who the mother is. That's like a big deal. Now, in the ancient past, when it says that the gods created the heavens and earth, it talks about Adam as the son of God, just like Jesus. Jesus is called the son of God, and Adam is called the son of God, right? Well, that's only in English. In ancient Hebrew, Adam is called a child of God. And here's something else to think about. When God said, let us create man, in our image shall we create man, male and female shall we create man, that's inaccurate. In Hebrew, it says, let us make Adam in our image, male and female, we shall make Adam in our image. Now remember, God is saying, let us make Adam male and female like us. So what does that mean? Once again, if we go back and look, God, at the time, every single human that would ever live, ever, was in God. So when God said, let us make Adam like us, male and female, he's talking about us, all of the humans that were in God at the time. So how did Adam become a male over time? The Bible answers that. At some point, God took the female part out of Adam and made a distinct individual. From that moment on, it's not just Adam, it's Adam and Eve. And Adam declared, finally, at long last, here is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. Once again, back to the father, son, mother, sister thing. Adam and Eve were brother and sister. And in fact, Adam and Eve were actually one individual, which is what Jesus referred to later when he said, a man will leave his mother and father and cling to his Aisha, or his female, his woman, And so that's the way it was at the beginning, is that Adam and Eve clung to one another because they were a single individual. And even afterwards, they clung to one another. And so in our day, we don't have any pure bloods. Your biological clone sister uh, can't exist. And if she did and you married her, it would be illegal anyway. But there was a time when Adam and Eve was actually just one person. And so that's something to keep in mind as we try to figure out who the angels are, because the angels are always associated with the sons of God. Remember when it says later that there came a time when the sons of God looked down and saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful, and they took all they wished as their wives? Well, the churches teach that those are angels who came to earth and mated with humans. And I used to believe this too. In fact, even after becoming sustenance and covering, for years I taught this. But the fact is, the sons of God are actually like the original beings created from the earth, Adam and any other humans that would have lived at that time. The daughters of men would have simply been the women that were taken out of the males that God created. There's a reason why this is important. We're not told anything about the people who are not purebloods. It's possible that as Adam mated and created offspring with other individuals who were not his biological twin, that their life expectancies decreased. And here's why that's important. Throughout the Bible, they talk about these creatures like they talk about separating the sheep from the goats. If you're familiar with that, there's something you need to know about separating the sheep from the goats. Sheep are a distinct species. Goats are a distinct species. And even though they both have 4 legs and they kind of look a little bit alike, they're completely different species of animals. And in fact, as hybrids go, the goat sheep hybrids that still exist in this day come from a mating of 2 animals that are more different from one another than anything else. So as much as Adam and Eve were biologically similar, the other sons of God and daughters of men would have been biologically different. And so it's from that moment on that people seemingly lost their abilities to live long lives. People began to die younger and younger. And our understanding of what happened to those people after they died is going to lead to understanding who the angels are. Because, in the Bible, when it says that God created squirrels and he created sea monsters and he created birds and fish and humans, nowhere does it say anything about God creating angels. But as we're going to find out, some of these individuals who lived on earth as fleshly beings are later spoken of as angels. Okay, now we'll field questions because I can no longer keep talking about this without getting confused. Patricia says, men are called old goats. Eve, you is a sheep. And Eve does, okay, the word Eve is actually from the Hebrew word cheve, which means egg. But if you go along through the Bible, in Hebrew, there are a lot of words associated with sheep and goats. And always the ewes, the female sheep, their words for the ewes are used as like words for human females. It's just like if you look into the sky at night, there are constellations up there, and the constellations are based on these different words for sheep and goats. And in particular, a major one is, Angela says, I'm grateful for your point of view. Thank you, Angela. The major one up there is Aries, the ram. But if you look at Aries the ram, and I encourage you to just go on your computers and type in constellation Aries, and their whole thing is it's a ram. Aries is a ram because it looks like 2 horns, kind of like a Y with curves. But here's what you need to keep in mind. The symbol for Aries, the constellation Aries, is actually the human female reproductive system. Shame churches do not teach this. Well, you know what? I used to think that too. It's like you've got all of these people that go to church every week, and they could certainly, learn that, it would be great to teach humanity the truth en masse. But from what I've been experiencing throughout my life, human beings are actually offended by truth. And that's the reason they pay preachers to lie to them. They feel like if a preacher is getting paid to lie to them, that makes it the truth, and it isn't. And if every preacher on earth were to suddenly start teaching truth, people would stop going to church. It's true. All right, well, it's been 16 minutes. Unless somebody has something really profound to ask me, I may even just roll it. I'm getting sleepy laying in this bed under these covers. Oh, Crystal Emerald, I spotted Orion, Taurus, Pisces, and 7 other. Most are scared of the truth. So what do you think is the goal in this? Everything's going too fast. Yeah, only a few will go through the small door. And Angela says, good night, Henry Lowell. And who is Melchizedek? Dead Fox, go to my YouTube channel. Just click on the name under this. It says Sustenance and Covering. Click on that. And what will come up, I think, the very first video, that it'll say videos at the top. Click on videos. And I have been doing the Melchizedek video series for 6 weeks now. It'll continue for 3 more weeks. And it explains who a lot of the characters are in the Bible and how we know who they are, what the Bible says about it. It uses the scriptures, but it starts off telling us how come people don't know who Melchizedek is. Then it explains what roles Melchizedek played. Then it actually just tells you, in part 3, I think, who Melchizedek actually is. When you get to part 4, we talk about who the Nephilim or the giants are. Part 5 is basic information, or part 6 is basic information about Jesus' family. Part 7, which comes up this Friday, will be about really, really deep information about Jesus' family that nobody on earth has known for 2,000 years. So, and basically everything in this series is secrets that were shared with mankind by Jesus 2,000 years ago and have not been spoken of since. We are nearing the last days, which is the reason God has given me the privilege of telling you people these things. The next video, after the family video, is going to be about who wrote the book of John. And even though that may seem insignificant, when you watch the video, your mind will be blown and you will know more about the Bible than any human has known in 2,000 years. The final one in this series that's going to actually go up this year, part 9, is the actual identity of Jesus Christ, something that the churches have been hiding from mankind ever since the day he died. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this live stream. I'm going to go out saying the same thing I always say, and which is true. If you don't want to survive, don't listen to me.